Okay, so let's get started. So last time we talked about what a function is and how to create the different types of items that could be functions and how to test if they are functions. So I would usually like to try to review what we did last time for a few minutes and then jump right into what the next topic is. So let's just review. There were 4 different types of items that could be functions that I gave you. One was verbal, one was algebraic, one was graphical, and one was numerical. So I gave you examples of each, and you were to be able to determine how do you tell if it's a function or not based upon what you see. If it's a ordered pair, all the x values have to be different. If it's an xy table, all the x values have to be different. If it's a graph, you have to do the vertical line test. If it's an equation, you type the equation in Desmos, that means www.desmos.com, type the equation in Desmos, and then see if it passes the vertical line test. Okay? So then the last one was the verbal one where I gave you an example of the account balance on any given day, your checking account balance on any given day. And we said that that was not a function because you can check your balance multiple times of days. So then the X value would be Monday could be written 3 times or Tuesday could be written 5 times. You could check your account multiple times. So because all the X values wouldn't be different, we said that that one was not a function. Also, we wanted to talk about function notation. So I don't know if I went over function notation. So I'm going to start off with function notation and then the mathematical modeling. So let me go up a screen, up one screen. Let's see if it let me page up a screen. That's weird. Wonder why it wouldn't let me go up a screen. So that's that screen that I wanted to be on. And so function notation, anytime you see the y equals f of x, it's read y equals f of x. And another way you can say it is y is a function of the variable x. Okay, so in the homework, you're going to see this written multiple ways. But just know, every time you see y equals f of x, that tells you that this is a function and you're going to be plugging something in. So here's the next slide, which is mathematical models. Okay, so we're going to talk about that one. Then, of course, you get some practice exercises. Here's the practice ones with the revenue for the sale of specialty hats. And then we want to make sure after we went through that problem, you understood everything with that problem. We should be able to finish 1.1 today. That is my goal. So once we get done, we're going to talk about if you understood the solution. We'll practice one more, and then we'll be done for the day. So with that said, I can go ahead and stop.
It should be recording me talking as well, so that way you have this to go back to. That's my goal, is to be able to, so you can go back to and listen to this as well as with the PowerPoints. My goal is to be able to get it so that it'll capture what's on the screen up here yet, but we're not there yet, but I'm working on that part. All right, so last time we talked, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, last time we talked about these different types of testing for whether it's a function or not. And I gave you the different examples. The numerical one was, what were the numerical ones that we did for testing for function, whether it was a function or not?
The order pairs.
Order pairs, that's one type. What's a different type? Did we do the XY table?
Yes.
Yes, we did the XY table. And to test for functionality for order pairs and XY tables, all the X's have to be different. All the X values have to be different. Do they always have to be X's and Y's? No. So instead of saying X, what other words should I use instead of using the word X? Because it may not always be an X. What words should I use? 2 other words. Input and domain. Those are the 2 words. Input and domain mean the same thing, right? Okay, and then we talked about I think I went to the graphical one or the algebraic one. Either the algebraic one is just an equation. What are you supposed to do to test for functionality of an equation? Go to Desmos, type it in, and see if it passes the vertical line test. What if you're given a graph? Just see if it passes the vertical line test. Okay, the verbal one was the one that they're going to give you a statement, and I think we talked about it from the standpoint of if you get one bill, not bill, we did the checking account. We didn't talk about it. We did the cell phone bill. Did we do the cell phone bill?
Yes.
Okay, so I showed you the one with the cell phone bill and with the checking account. The checking account balance can change, but we don't care about the checking account balance. We care about the domain or the input, which was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And remember, because Monday could be repeated, it's not a function. However, with your cell phone bill, it was a function because you only get one cell phone bill per month, right? Right. All right, so that's where we left off. Tell me whether or not, this is the next slide, tell me whether or not we actually got to function notation. Did I talk to you guys about function notation? Not yet. Okay, so you guys look like I didn't say anything. All right, so here is the next topic, and then we'll finish this section. So 1.1 we will finish, section 1.1 we'll finish today. All right, here's the next topic. F of x, you see y equals f parentheses x close parentheses. You read that just like bullet number 1 says. It was read y equals f of x. That says in English, f of x in English, all this says is I can plug in a number, whatever number it is, in the place of this x, and I'm going to get what out? A y. The only reason it's written this way is because it tells you what to plug in. So if I say f of 5, what you going to plug in? In the place of this x, I'm going to put a 5. So if I say plug in a 5, then here, if you see written here, if it says f of 5, you're going to plug in a 5 and you're going to get some answer out. How will the answer be determined what you're going to get out? Well, it depends on what's happening inside the dryer. Remember our dryer example? That's some process or some operation, whether you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. Something's happening inside the dryer and a number is going to pop out. So in your homework, they're going to give you this number and they're going to say what pops out. Remember, this is your domain or your input. Okay? And it's going to say plug this number in and they want you to tell me what's going to be the output for that. So, depending on what's happening inside the dryer determines what this output is going to be. So, if the function says, and in the homework it's going to give you the original function, it's going to say f of x. What's happening inside the dryer is going to say f of x is equal to x plus 6. So, it's going to say what's happening inside the dryer is this. Well, if I plug in a 5, what comes out? 11. We got it? They're going to have to give you something to plug it into. Now remember, you've got 4 different types of testing for functionality. We said we had ordered pairs, the numerical ones, we had ordered pairs, XY tables, you got equations, you've got graphs, and you got verbal statements. So now here's the question. If they give you an equation like this, can you just plug 5 in? Can you? Yeah. Sure, absolutely. All right, so this is one that you can plug into. What if they give you an ordered pair and say, what's f of 5? All right, so here's what I'm saying. Step 1, or first type that you see here, they might give you an equation. Given an equation, what are you supposed to do? I'm trying to write. Given an equation, you're supposed to just plug into the equation. All right, so that's the first one. When do you do this? They have to give you a number in here. It could be a 5, 15, 0, -2, or a fraction. Whatever number's in here is what gets plugged in. So that's your first one. And the homework is going to give you another one. It's going to say, what's f of 5? And then I'm going to give you a set of ordered pairs. 1, 2. I'm listing ordered pairs. 2, 6. 3, 7. 4, comma 9, and 5, comma 15. Okay, what are you given this time? Order pairs. Okay, so you're given order pairs. The whole goal is, what are you doing here? Plugging in a what? It's whatever numbers in the parentheses, that's what you're plugging in. First we did the equation, now we're getting ready to do the order pairs. So, if you plug something in, should you get something out? Yes. Is these first numbers, all the first numbers, are they all inputs?
Yes.
Yes, they are. So if I plug in a 5, what is my output?
15.
Done. You didn't have to do the math inside because it already did it for you. So you could be given an equation, you plug the number in that's in the parentheses, and tell me what the answer is. You could be given a set of ordered pairs. You pick the one that has the input value that you have. What's the corresponding output? 15. We're good? What if it gives it to you in XY table format? So here is, this is the third type. Here's what XY table. Given an XY table. I'm gonna use the same numbers I got down here. 1, 2, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 9, and 5, 15. You're given an XY table. If it says find f of 5, what's the answer? What's the answer? It's still 15. You plugged in a 5, what did you get out? 15. You're just not having to do the math inside of here because it already did it for you. So if it gives you order pairs, there's your input, here's your output. If it gives you XY table, here's your input, here's your output. Questions? All right, here's the next one. What if it gives you a graph? What if it gives you a graph and say find f of 5? Here's my graph, number 4. You're given a graph.
It's the x coordinate.
Aha. So here's my graph. Here's my x-axis. Here's my y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why did I put 5 on the x-axis?
That's the x coordinate.
That's the number we gotta find. You're finding f of 5. So because they gave me, what x value did they give you? So that's the number you got put here. So if there's a graph, and let's say my graph looks like this. I'm making this graph up, guys. Here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is, I'm gonna say 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. I'm making these numbers up as I go, guys. All right, so here's my graph. And let's say I wanna know what's f of 5. Go put 5 on the x-axis where it's supposed to go. Then draw up to where it hits the curve that you see on the screen. So now you got to draw a line all the way up. Where does it hit the curve at? Is it 20 or 25? 20. So now for this one, f of 5 is equal to 20. Because it hits it at 20. So this really is the point 5, comma 20. Let's write this better. 5, comma 20. Alrighty, you've got a graph. It's going to give you a homework question. It's going to give you a graph. You got to put the x-axis, put the point where it goes on the x-axis, and draw a line till you touch the curve that's on the screen. Doesn't matter where the curve is. The curve could be down here at the bottom, but you still got to draw the line till you hit the curve. Wherever it hits the curve at, the corresponding y value will be the answer. So here was your input, and here was your output. We okay? Alrighty. So those are what you're going to see on the homework when it says f of something. It's going to say f of 5, f of 0, f of 15. You figure out which one did they give you. Did they give me an equation, order pair, XY table, or a graph? Out of either of those, you can plug in a number and get a number back. All right, questions about the notation and how to use what we just did. Question? Okay, I'm going to go to the next screen. This next screen just says we're getting ready to do, y'all do know this is a word problem class, right? So we're gonna do a lot, every time we learn something, I'm gonna go back and apply it using a word problem. So when you see the words mathematical models, there usually is a word problem associated with the topic that we're talking about. And it's usually gonna have some equation or some function that we're gonna use. Because we're talking about functions, it's gonna lend itself to the functions that we're talking about. Okay, so that's basically all it says. It's going to show what the relationship is using some input and some output and some equation that it's going to create that's going to relate to this. So that's that slide. The next slide, here is our first word problem that you're going to see in this class. First word problem. Let me erase some of this stuff so you can read it. Now, I'm going to give you steps that you have to follow. Have to follow according to what it is we're going to do with this word problem. So, step 1. Here is solving word problems. Step 1, read the problem. Now I know you've heard this, read the problem. I know you've heard it before, and you're like, I still don't get it. We're going to walk through it little bit by little bit. Step 1 is read the problem. All right, let's read it. Let's make sure we read the problem. You can read it, I'm reading. You may have it on your screen already. The revenue for the sale of specialty hats is given by a function, R of X. Did I read that correctly? Did it have to be an F based upon the first screen that we just saw, the one before this one? No, it doesn't have to be an F in front of the X with the parentheses. It could be an R, a P, a Q, a W, a T, whatever letter of the alphabet you want to put. Why do you think they put, and let me finish reading and I'll ask you a different question. The revenue from the sale of specialty hats is given by a function R of X is equal to 32 times X. In dollars, where X is the number of hats sold. That's the beginning of the word problem. They've told you everything. Now they're going to ask you to do something. Bullet number 1 says, what is R of 200? And then interpret the results. So let's go back and make sure. Did you read the word problem? All right. Next step, did you understand it? Okay, make sure you understand it. And here's why I'm saying this. If you don't understand it, you can't go to the next step and figure it out. So my question is, how do you know if you understand the word problem? Can you explain it to somebody else? So if I come over and ask you, I was like, well, what did that word problem say? Can you explain it in your own words? Don't read it and tell me what it says on the screen. Can you tell me in your own words what this word problem is really saying? So give me an example of in your own words what you think it is saying. You don't have to try to give it to me word for word for what they said up there. What did they tell you? What's going on with this word problem? Anybody, it doesn't matter what, you can't get it wrong because whatever you think is whatever you think.
They're trying to find out how much revenue came from selling hats.
Okay, just trying to find out how much revenue. Well, the question is, do you understand what the word revenue means? Anytime you have a word problem, you got to know what every word in that word problem means. You got to know what everything you see. You got to know what an equal sign means. You got to know what R with the parentheses and the X. You got to know what everything in that word problem means. If you don't, then you got to go look, figure out what that word means before you can go forward. All right, so question, what's revenue?
Money.
The amount of sales.
Okay, I heard the amount of sales. I heard money. Is that it? You want to give me something else with that revenue?
Profit.
Profit and revenue, are they related? They are. So what's the difference between profit and revenue? You own a business. If you own a business, you do get profit, you do get revenue. What's the difference between the two? There is a difference.
Revenue is everything you get, and profit is what you make. So, like, minus whatever it took to, like, whatever supplies you had to buy and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So revenue, you sold it, you made some money. Can you spend all of that money?
No.
You didn't pay your employees, you didn't pay the rent for the building, you had to pay for your supplies, you didn't pay your employees. So revenue minus all of your expenses equals profit. Profit is the money. You can do whatever you want to do with. So Keith, we make sure we understand what every word in the problem means. Okay, so that's part of step 1, making sure you understand everything. Step 3. Step 3 says, what do you know or what did they give you? What's given? In every word problem, you will be given some stuff. What did they give you? And let's write what they gave us. All right, so based upon what you see, did they give you anything you can use? Were you given anything to use? Tell me what you were given.
How much each hat cost?
Now, they gave you that in the bullet. Go back, just look at the paragraph before we get to the bullet, because they did give you something. Tell me well, let's see what you were saying.
Oh, the number
I
of
see what you're
hats.
saying. I see what you're saying. I
Okay,
see.
the 32.
They gave you X, which equals the number of what?
Hats,
So you got an X, which is the number of hats. Alrighty. What else did they give you?
Each hat costs $32.
Well, they tell you enough information so that you can tell that hint, this is your hint, each hat is $32. Alrighty. Question. What else do you have? What else did they give you? Do I have a function or do I have an equation to work with?
Yeah.
Oh, I do, okay. Alrighty, so can I call that equation R of X equals 32X?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they gave you an equation to work with, so you gotta use whatever function they give you. Alrighty? So is there anything else that we need to know from this? Now, is R of X the same thing as the Y or the output? Say yes. Yes. Remember in the previous slide it said Y equals F of X? The output is always equal to whatever this is. If it says T of X, P of X, Q of X, W of X, R of X, that's always output. So how do I figure out what my output is? I got to do what inside the dryer? Multiply by 32 every single time. Alrighty, so this is what I'm given so far. What does it want me to do? Alright, I've got know what the X is. X represents the number of hats. I got an equation. Alright, step 4. What do you do? What math needs to be performed? Alrighty, you ready? Alrighty. Before we can figure out what math needs to be performed, look at bullet number 1. It tells you, because again, we're trying to figure out what to do. In every word problem, there will always be a question or a statement that asks you to do something. So bullet number 1 asks you to do something. So what math has to be formed, or what are you going to do?
How much revenue?
Okay, so they gave you a number. So what the number represent? That number says 200. What does it represent? Okay, it gave you X equals 200 hats, right? Okay, so that's what it gave you. Also, we could have also put that up here in what's given if we wanted to, but I wanted to say what math needs to be performed. Well, it tells me X is equal to 200 hats. Now, have I used this equation yet? No, we haven't. Do you think we should use it? Yes, we should use it. So if they give you an equation and they give you an input, what should you do with the input? Plug it in. So what is the math going to be performed? We're going to plug in 200 to the function or equation. Alrighty? Step 4. Do the math. Excuse me, that was step 5. Step 5, do the math. Alright, what math do we need to do? You said plug in 200. Well, let's do it. So R of 200 means plug in 200. If I plug in 200, I get 200 times what?
32.
Well, so I should write it the way they wrote it. 32 times 200. You guys do agree that whenever you see up here it has a 32 and an X, when a number and a variable sit beside each other, you all do understand that means times?
Yes.
Okay, also when there's a number and another number inside of parentheses and they sit beside each other, that means times as well. So we got 32 times 200. So tell me what that means. 6,400. 6,400 what? Dollars. So in English, tell me what we just did. We know that if we sell 200 hats, we're gonna make a revenue of $6,400. We're good?
Mm-hmm.
That is the process that you should be doing for every single math problem. Anytime you get to a word problem and you're looking to see what do I do, I'm gonna come back and ask you, did you understand every word in the problem? I'm gonna ask you, did you write down what was given to you? Did you understand what was given? Did you use the information that was in the problem to do the math? These are the steps that you should be following every single time. Question. All right, look at bullet number 2. Bullet number 2 says, what is the revenue from the sale of 2,500 hats? Now, this process will start all over again, but do I need to actually reread the problem? No. Do we understand that we don't need to go through all these steps? What step do I start working at for bullet number 2? You can plug it in. Can I go ahead and plug it in? Now what number should I plug in? 200. Okay, so instead of 200, I'm plugging in 2,500 or 2,500. So I'm just going to erase this part. So I'm in step 4. I got 2,500, 2,500 here, and this is going to be a 2,500. All right, somebody do the math for me on the calculator, because you have to be able to do this on your own calculator on your test. Somebody tell me, this is 2,500 times 3,200. What's the answer?
80,000.
Check it for me, please. What was the answer again?
80,000.
80,000. 80,000 what? Dollars. Okay? Tell me in English what that says. I sold. Done. All right, last bullet says write this in function notation. Whenever it says function notation, it wants something of x, whether it's r of x, p of x, q of x, f of x, equals a number. So it wants r of 2,500 equals 80,000. This is function notation. So in the homework, when it says write your answer in function notation, it wants it written just like that. Alrighty, so this is function notation right here. So if you wonder, function notation is always written like that when you answer. Function notation. Alright? How we doing so far? We're okay? Alrighty, so now that we finished that one, do I have any questions before I go to the next slide? Now, next slide just basically wants to see if we really understood what we did. Did you understand what X was representing? Yes. Yes, what was it representing? Did you understand what R of X represented? Yes. What was it? The revenue, but it gave you a function that associated that. So it gave you the R of X was equal to how much? 32X, okay? So just making sure, and it is referencing the revenue. R of X was what? Excuse me, R of 200 was what? The revenue if you sell 200, okay? And we found the value for that one was how much dollars? $6,400. And the function notation of that would have been what? We didn't write the function notation for that one. Tell me what the function notation was for when we had 200 hats that we sold.
R 200 equals
64. Okay, questions? So last thing is just kind of making sure we understood the plan. Did you understand the plan for how we went through how to solve the word problem? Okay, you're going to use these steps every single time. All right, so there's nothing else with the next slide. It's just making sure we really understand. All right, so here is the next one. Did all of this make sense?
Yes.
Yes? I'm looking to see it because sometimes some people say yes and some people won't say anything. If you're abstaining, does that still mean you're okay? Like you can look at me and smile or shake your head or something because I'm looking to see what your face looks like. All right, so we got the correct answers for both of those. We're good, right? Your homework is going to ask you to do something very similar. All righty, last word problem for this section. All right, are we going to start with step 1 again?
Yes.
Yes, we are. All right, step 1 says do what? Read the problem. All right, well, let's go read it. I'll let you read it, then I'm going to read it out loud. Just read all the way up to the first bullet. Don't read the first bullet yet. All right, the profit from the production and sale of iPads is given by the function P of X is equal to 450X minus 0.1 X squared minus 2,000, where X is the number of iPads produced and sold. First question, why did they use the letter P for P of X?
It means profit.
It means profit. So in most of the word problems that you'll see, it's gonna use the letter of the alphabet that references what the topic is. Talking about revenue, they used R. Talking about profit, we use P. So usually you will see that happen most of the time. Alrighty, so step one, we read the problem. Did you understand every word in the problem? Was there a word you didn't know what it meant? Yes, sir.
Word or a number?
Either word, number, whatever it is. Was there any?
Number 0.1x to the second power.
Okay, so this part, good question. This part right here is just literally part of an equation. So instead of, we ran out of space right there. So they just put, so this is an entire equation. What was my equation over here?
32x. R of x equals 32x.
Now you've got a kind of much longer equation, and 0.1 x squared is just part of that equation. And they're going to give that to you. So you don't have to create that yourself. You're going to be given that. So they gave you this function, this equation, and anything else, any other word, number that you don't understand in that particular paragraph. Okay? All righty. So with that said, what's given? Tell me what they gave us. This is upon step 3. What's given?
This is the number of items produced.
Okay, X is the number of iPads. Okay. All right. What else?
450 is the number to
P
me.
of x equals 450x.
Okay, so they gave you P of X is equal to the equation. I'm going to put the equation here rather than writing all of that out. Yes.
450x is the number of iPads produced.
No. 450X. This whole thing will total up the number of iPads. Not the value, but the profit for the number of iPads.
Oh.
So if we got the number of iPads is this, I'm going to do what with that 500?
Insert it in.
I'm gonna plug it in. All right. So first of all, we know what we're given. We got these two things here. All right. Step 4 says what math has to be performed. Well, the math that has to be performed is we're gonna do what with. We're gonna plug in some numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So step 4, plug in. What number we're gonna plug in first?
500.
Plug in 500. All righty. Do the math. So that means I need your calculator. You need to do this because on the test you have to be able to do this on your calculator. So here, depending on what type of calculator you have, my preference would be, I don't know if you already bought yours or not. If you have one where you can see what you typed on the screen, that's the best thing. It doesn't have to be a $100 calculator. They $19 at Target or Office Depot or whichever. You can see what you type. It doesn't go away. Once you hit enter, that stays on the screen. That's what's preferable. All right. So, and what did I miss doing? I didn't put my 500 in here. There should be a 500 in here. And let me actually put it in green. So here's my 500 in this part. Minus 2,000. You should have 500 here. All righty.
You have to raise the 500 in the middle to
500 should be raised to the second power. So now if you type all of that in your calculator, somebody tell me, what did you get?
198,000.
Okay, so P of 500 is equal to 198,000. All right, tell me what that says in English.
500 iPads were sold for $198,000.
Okay, 500 iPads were sold that produced a profit of $198,000. Is that money that you can just do whatever you want to with? Yeah, it's profit. It's total profit. You done paid all the bills. You done paid all your employees. You got $198,000 in profit. Bullet number 2. What should I do for bullet number 2? Plug in what?
4,000.
4,000. So now P of 4,000, y'all put it in your calculator. Everywhere you had an X, put instead of 5,000, put in, instead of 500, put 4,000. Put it in your calculator, tell me what you get. Now, you get a number, and are you concerned that your number ain't right? Are you concerned that your number's not right? Why are you concerned that your number's not right?
It's the same.
Because you got the same number. So then it makes you question, man, did I type it in my calculator right? Let me see if everybody else got the same answer I got. That is correct. And you're like, how is that possible if you sold that many more? So did your inventory have to go up? Did the number of employees that you had to pay go up?
Yes.
Did you spend more time with the electricity on, the power, the water, the everything else on?
Yeah.
Did you have to buy more materials?
Yeah.
So do you understand how it's possible that you sold more and you still made the same amount of money? That means something has to change with your business model here. That means you've got to figure out for whatever it is that your materials are, your employees, something has to change so you can still make a higher profit if you sell more. You understand? So it is possible for those numbers to be the same. So you were correct when you put it in your calculator. This is right. All right, function notation. Is this function notation?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Both of these are function notation. All righty. We have just completed section 1.1. We have just completed section 1.1.